Good morning. It is the day I am going to finish the first draft of my romantasy novel. Hopefully. It is May 31st and I've challenged myself to finish the first draft by the end of the month. So this is all I have. It is currently 9:24 a.m. and I have technically 3 chapters to finish today, but I am only going to finish 2. I am not going to write the very last chapter, which is chapter 40, until I do draft 2. That is because the chapter changes location and changes POV to a character that I have not visited or spent time with since Act 1. Basically, the point of that chapter is to kind of give a snapshot into the area and the location and the characters that were part of Act 1 before Luetta, the FMC, goes on her journey. And that is really important for book 2. But with that being said, I think that to be able to do that chapter really efficiently and well, I would need to go back, reread Act 1, and reacclimate myself with this character because it's been so long. And I just don't think that that makes the most sense for right now. I'm going to obviously completely reread the book before I start draft 2. So what I'm thinking is that I will go back and chapter 40 will be the first chapter I write after I do the reread, because I'll be very fresh with that character and that location. And I just don't think it is logical or efficient to go back and just like reread part 1 for the sake of writing that one chapter when I know I'm going to be doing that in a couple weeks when I go back to do draft 2. I know I'm like skipping a chapter and maybe some people would be like, oh, you didn't finish the manuscript, but you know, there are often new chapters added in following drafts, so hopefully we're all okay with that. We feel like that is a fair decision to make, but for me, I still feel like the draft is complete even if I skip that chapter. Chapter 39 that I'll hopefully be writing today is the ending for our main characters, and so to me, it still feels like it really is the end of their story for this book. But I just want to add this little like snapshot of life at the very end. So it's not an epilogue, but I almost think of it as like that type of thing where it's a little bit detached. But anyway, enough about that. Today I have to write chapter 37 and 39. I did go a little bit out of chronological order. I already wrote 38. I do have a few words in these chapters. I have 194 words in chapter 37 and a whopping 27 words in chapter 39. So I have some things started here, but largely I need to write the entirety of these chapters. So it'll probably end up being, I would think at least 2,000 words today, which I have written 2,000 words in a day before. I know that I can do it, but it sounds like a lot. And even if I did 2,000 words, like those are relatively short chapters, which in Act 2, Part 2, my chapters were getting really short. In Act 3, the chapters have been longer, so that would be skimping it a little bit, but I don't want to be so bold and be like, I'm going to write 3,000 words today, but maybe I could or I will, knowing that this is the finish line and I am here and I have arrived and this is the day and I have procrastinated these last 2 chapters until today. But we're just going to see how it goes. Let me get you the total manuscript word count right now. It is 52,178 words. So I'm super excited. If you're new here, before we start writing, I'm Melissa Shea. I'm working on what I hope to be my debut novel. It is a YA romantasy revolving around a marriage contract, and I'm hoping to traditionally publish. So that's where we're at. I am going to start writing. I want to start very early in the day, at least 9:30 is early for me, because I do have plans to go on a walk with a friend today, and I also know I need to go to the grocery store because I have like 0 food in the house. So let's just jump right into it, get started. I have a couple admin tasks I'm going to take care of before I actually start writing. However, after that, we're going to jump right in. Okay, quick update. It is now 10:49 and I have finished chapter 37. It is extremely short. It's only 716 words. To be honest, this chapter wasn't originally intended to exist. I added it in because I had an idea for a scene. I really wanted to focus on the romantic relationship in this third act. And I also realized there was an imbalance in the number of chapters that Luetta had in her POV and that Dare, the MMC, had in his POV. And so I wanted to balance that out a little bit more, and I needed to add a chapter in his point of view. And so that was my goal with this chapter, and I had an idea just for like a romantic moment, but it really is just a moment. And so I wrote that scene, but it definitely needs to be fleshed out. Something more needs to happen in it. I don't even think I wrote the romantic tension like I meant to. So it didn't execute the way that I thought it was going to in my mind. And that's okay. I have the first pass down. I have the thoughts down. But yeah, I mean, ideally, I think this scene would just be part of chapter 38. But that doesn't help with my dilemma on Dare's POV. So I think, again, just when I reread it, I'll probably have more thoughts on that. Maybe I can actually just change one of the other full-length chapters to his point of view. But I also want to make sure that when, you know, some big moments are happening, that it's in Luetta's point of view, especially like the romantic stuff. I want the reader to be experiencing it from her perspective. So yeah, I need to check out and like recount chapters and adjust point of view, I think, somewhere along the line. But that is a draft 2 problem. That first pass is done and I get to move on to chapter 39, which is the very last chapter. I am considering taking a little bit of a break. I'm a little bit torn between like continuing to write while I have this motivation and like momentum. I'm a little bit fearful of taking a break and like losing steam or focus. I did take a little bit of a break in the last hour or so. I got sucked into YouTube video clips of Keke Palmer and Sean Evans from Hot Ones and their cute little dynamic that they have going on. I'm like, surely this is a publicity thing, but I'm eating it up because it's just too good. Like, it's too on the nose. They're too flirty, and if they wanted to, I feel like they would actually date. So I'm like, it has to just be for show. Unless they're secretly dating, but I don't get that vibe. But I actually do feel like Sean Evans really likes her. Anyway, this is not the point of the video. But I'm eating that up. It makes me like smile. I think I will take a break, to be honest. I'm feeling a little bit like a break, and I'm just going to make sure that I get back to it and I don't get off track. I think the fact that this is the last day will ensure that I come back to it and I finish this last chapter strong. Forget anything I literally just said about taking a break. At 11:34 on Sunday, May 31st, 2026, I finished the first draft. I'm over the moon. I ended up not writing a whole other chapter. Again, I kind of overestimated how much I had to write. I ended up writing exactly 444 words. I added that on to chapter 38, I believe it would have been. Yes, chapter 38. And chapter 38 is going to be my last chapter for the main character storyline. I'll still add, like I said, chapter 39 then for draft 2 for that alternative POV. But I'm really happy with this, and I'm fine with the length. I'm fine that I didn't add like a whole other chapter, because actually in my last document that I had for this draft, I'd only had it planned out to be till chapter 38 with that alternative POV. So I'm still an extra chapter compared to that than what I originally planned. But if you've seen any of my previous videos, you'll know I did not have Act 3 really planned out at all. I had ideas, things I wanted to accomplish, vibes, but I really didn't know what was going to happen. So it's been a lot of discovery writing in this part of the book, and I know that I don't know, but I do think I'll end up expanding it a lot more in draft 2. It's also a little bit difficult because I am leaving it on a cliffhanger and there is going to be a second book. It's at least going to be a duology. I think it will end up being a duology. I don't think it'll be a trilogy. And so it's like there's things that I need to leave unfinished to contribute to that cliffhanger. So I don't know if that's partly why maybe my act 3 is a little bit shorter than usual. But again, when I reread, I'll know a little bit more about pacing and whether it's totally off, whether it's way too short, or if it feels right. But I am officially done, and it went way faster today than I thought it was going to. I still have so much time for a walk, for errands, for other things, and just to like soak this in and to celebrate it and to enjoy the accomplishment. My plan going forward is that I'm going to take 2 weeks off, and then I'll get into my reread and I will start draft 2. I don't know how long the reread will take. I don't think it'll take very long since the book's not that terribly long. Let me give you the final word count, but that's my plan. Taking 2 weeks off. Word count is 53,117. So I'm hoping by draft 2 it'll be up to 70,000. I think that's very doable. But anyway, this video is not about my plans for draft 2. It's celebrating the fact that I finished draft 1. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. If you are enjoying these videos, give this video a like, subscribe if you want to see how draft 2 goes. One other really exciting thing that happened this week is I got an inquiry from this group that I'm a part of for a critique partner, and I'd like to start engaging with that critique partner after I finish draft 2. So I'm hoping that I can work through that second draft rather quickly so that I can get critique from her. Her work is ready for critique now, so I'll probably, if the partnership ends up working out, I will do hers now and then she'll do mine a little bit later. It took me 4 months to do the first draft, so I'm going to assume that maybe the second draft will also take 4 months. There's definitely things I want to dive into and think through more, but there's also a lot written that I really do believe is reusable. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But for now, this is it. I'm gonna take 2 weeks of a break from writing, but I will still be posting content, so stick around. Thank you so much for being here. This has been a blast, and it is just the beginning.